hey there, you awesome bipeds, quadrupeds, and even the occasional dinosaurs. It is I, Little Wolf, and welcome to my den. Go ahead and come on in, but please wipe your paws before entering, and go ahead and take a seat by the fire. The cauldron is bubbling, so you can have your choice of tea, coffee, or hot chocolate. And I figured since it is Friday, once again for us, we can go ahead and do a quick Fireside Tales. And I was trying to find a fun one to do, and sometimes that's not the easiest. But I was thinking I hadn't really done any of the creepypastas. And I figured that would kind of help us get through our day just a little bit. And sometimes they're kind of shorter and a bit easier to read. And so that kind of helps me out just a little bit when it comes to it. But also, if you ever feel like you need help with anything, if you feel like you need to talk to someone because things are just seeming down or you're not feeling like yourself or anything like that, you can always hit me up in my Discord with my Little Wolf's Den or my Swordsmen group. And if you can't find me there, you can always pretty much hit up almost anybody in that group, and they'll take a few moments out of their day to sit down and at least, if you need to, listen to you vent. But if you don't think that you can do that kind of a thing, then what I would also suggest is to hit up the US hotline or US suicide hotline number, which is 1-800-273-8255. Once again, that's 1-800-273-8255. And if you're more into texting and that's easier for you, then you can always hit them up at 741-741. But if you're outside the US, you can hit up the website suicide.org/international-suicide-hotlines.html. And that'll give you a list of all the other countries out there and websites and numbers that you can get a hold of if you feel the need to sit down and talk with someone. And I really hope you do take that choice because it would be a lot better for you, and it would make me feel better knowing that you're at least attempting to get help. Now, I don't normally do creepypastas all that often because I feel that with a lot of them, they're more of the kind of jump scare stories versus like traditional horror where it builds up to whatever it is that scares you at the end. But I always do find a couple here and there that I would consider to be fun and good and things like that. And this was one of them, and especially the name of it got to me. And it's called Smile.dog. And from what the oracle here says, you can try and tell yourself over and over it's just an image. Just a stupid picture of a dog that someone has photoshopped teeth into. It isn't even scary, or at least it doesn't scare you. Not one bit. How could it scare you? It's just a picture. You'll tell yourself these things, but when you do, you lie. The image does scare you. Sometimes it's something about that smile. Too wide with too many teeth. The same, all the better to eat you with smile that the big bad wolf gave to Little Red Riding Hood. A smile full of threat and sharpness. A predatory smile. Again, you'll try and bury the idea to ignore it, but it's no use. Even when you close your eyes, you see it, smiling maniacally back at you. The eyes, the illuminated and searing, burning into your mind, into your soul. You'll know right then that you have to get rid of it, to pass the image on to someone else, to do what the thing says and spread the word. You know that you'll have to do these things because you must. Because if you don't, you know that eventually he'll pay you another visit. The Smile.dog creepypasta, also often referred to as Smile.jpg, concerns a supposedly cursed or demonic image of a Siberian husky with a menacing expression and an exaggerated large smile from a mouth seemingly filled with human teeth. According to the story, this image depicting Smile.dog is an image of a demon or evil spirit that then plagues and torments anyone who has looked upon it with horrendous visions and nightmares, implying them to spread the word by sharing the image with others. The longer the victim continues without sharing the image, the more extreme the haunting becomes, and if the image is not shared, then Smile.dog takes his true form, either killing the victim or driving them to the point of insanity, or in many versions, dragging them away to hell. The original image is associated with Smile.jpg or Smile.dog creepypasta shows a Siberian husky with what appears to be a heavily photoshopped mouth. The husky is gray-black, and the image shows only the head and neck with prominently pointed ears. The eyes of the dog are illuminated by the camera flash so that they take on a glowing quality, and the manner in which the dog is looking directly into the lenses as if posing for a portrait in a disturbingly human fashion. Most unsettling, however, is the smile, which aside from appearing too wide for the mouth itself to contain, seems not a certain canine teeth, but more human or primate. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and sit back and relax with our choice of beverage or snack, turn down the lights, and find out about Smile.dog. Smile.dog. I first met in person with Mary E. in the summer of 2007. I had arranged with her husband of 15 years, Terrence, to see her for an interview. Mary had initially agreed, since I was not a newsman but rather an amateur writer gathering information for a few early college assignments, and if all went according to plan, some pieces of fiction. We scheduled the interview for a particular weekend when I was in Chicago on unrelated business. But at the last moment, Mary changed her mind and locked herself in the couple's bedroom, refusing to meet with me. For half an hour I sat with Terrence as we camped outside the bedroom door. I listened and taking notes while he attempted fruitlessly to calm his wife. The things Mary said made little sense, but fit with the pattern I was expecting. Though I could not see her, I could tell from her voice she was crying. And more often than not, her objections of speaking to me centered around an incoherent diatribe on her dreams, her nightmares. Terrence apologized profusely when we ceased the exercise, and I did my best to take it in stride. Recall, I wasn't a reporter in search of a story, but merely a curious young man in search of information. Besides, I thought at the time I could perhaps find another similar case if I put my mind and resources to it. Mary E. was a psyop for a small Chicago-based bulletin board system in 1992. When she first encountered Smile.jpg, and her life changed forever. She and Terrence had been married for only 5 months. Mary was one of an estimated 400 people who saw the image when it was posted as a hyperlink on the BBS, though she was the only one who spoke openly about the experience. The rest have remained anonymous, or are perhaps dead. In 2005, when I was only in 10th grade, Smile.jpg was first brought to my attention by my burgeoning interest in the web-based phenomena. Mary was most often cited victim of what's sometimes referred to as quote-unquote Smile.dog. The being Smile.jpg is reputed to display. What caught my interest, other than the obvious macabre elements of the cyber legend and my proclivity towards such things, was the sheer lack of information, usually to the point that people didn't believe it even exists other than as rumors or as hoaxes. It is unique, though, because the entire phenomenon centers on a picture file. That picture file is nowhere to be found on the internet. Certainly, many photo-manipulated simulacra litter the web, showing up the most frequently on sites such as ImageBoard 4chan, particularly the X-focused phenomenon board. It is suspected that these are fakes because they do not have the effect that the true Smile.jpg is believed to have, namely the sudden onset temporal lobe epilepsy and acute anxiety. This purported reaction in the viewer is one of the reasons the phantom-like Smile.jpg is regarded with such disdain, since it's patently absurd, though depending on whom you ask, the reluctance to acknowledge Smile.jpg's existence might just be as much out of fear of the disbelief. Neither Smile.jpg nor Smile.dog is mentioned anywhere on Wikipedia, though the website features articles on such other, perhaps more scandalous shock sites, such as Hello.jpg or Two Girls, One Cup. Any attempt to create a page pertaining to Smile.jpg is summarily deleted by any of the encyclopedia's many admins. Encounters with Smile.jpg are the stuff of internet legend. Mary E's story is not unique. There are unverified rumors of Smile.jpg showing up in the early days of Usenet, and even one persistent tale that in 2002 a hacker flooded the forum of humor and satire websites. Something awful with the deluge of Smile.dog's pictures, rendering almost half the forum's users at the time epileptic. It is also said in the mid to late 90s that the Smile.jpg circulated the Usenet as an attachment of a chainmail with the subject line, "Smile, God loves you." Yet despite the huge exposure of these stunts would generate, there is very few people who admit to having experienced any of them, and no trace of the file or link has ever been discovered. Those who have claimed to seen Smile.jpg often weakly joke that they are far too busy to save a copy of the picture to their hard drive. However, all alleged victims offer the same description of the photo: a dog-like creature, usually described as appearing similar to a Siberian husky, illuminated by the flash of the camera, sits in a dim room, the only background detail that is visible being of a human hand extending from the darkness near the left side of the frame. The hand is empty, but is usually described as beckoning. Of course, most attention is given to the dog, or dog-like creature, as some victims are more certain than others about what they claim to have seen. The muzzle of the beast is reputedly split with a wide grin, revealing 2 rows of very white, very straight, very sharp, very human-looking teeth. This is, of course, not a description given immediately after viewing the picture, but rather a recollection of the victims, who claim to have seen the picture endlessly repeated in their mind's eyes during the time that they are, in reality, having epileptic fits. These fits are reported to continue indeterminately, often while the victim sleeps, resulting in very vivid and disturbing nightmares. These may be treated with medication, though in some cases it's more effective than others. Mary E., I assume, was not on the effective medication. That was why after my visit to her apartment in 2007, I sent out feelers to several folklore and urban legend-oriented news groups, websites, and mailing lists, hoping to find the name of a supposed victim of Smile.jpg who felt more interested in talking about his experiences. For a time, nothing happened, and at length I forgot completely about my pursuits, since I began my freshman year of college and it was quite busy. Mary contacted me via email, however, near the beginning of March of 2008. Added by Moose Juice to jml at redacted.com from Mary E. at redacted.com. Subject: Last summer's interview. Dear Mr. L., I am incredibly sorry about my behavior last summer when you came to interview me. I hope you understand that there was no fault of yours, but rather my own problems that led me to act out as I did. I realized that I could have handled the situation more discreetly. However, I hope you will forgive me. At the time, I was afraid. You see, for 15 years I have been haunted by Smile.jpg. Smile.dog comes to me in my sleep every night. I know that sounds silly, but it is true. There is an infallible quality about my dreams, my nightmares, that make them completely unlike any other real dreams I have ever had. I do not move, and do not speak. I simply look ahead, and the only thing ahead of me is the scene from that horrible picture. I see the beckoning hand, and I see Smile.dog. It talks to me. It's not a dog, of course, though I'm not quite sure what it really is. It tells me it will leave me alone if I only do as it asks. All I must do, it says, is to spread the word. That is how it phrases its demands, and I know exactly what it means. It wants me to show it to someone else. And I could. The week after my incident, I received a mail in a manila envelope with no return address. Inside was a 3.5-inch floppy diskette. Without having to check, I knew precisely what was on it. I thought for a long time about my options. I could show it to a stranger, a coworker. I could even show it to Terrence, as much as the idea disgusted me. And what would happen then? Well, if Smile.dog kept its word, I could sleep. Yet, if it lied, what would I do? And who was I to say something worse would not come for me if I did as the creature asked? So I did nothing for 15 years, though I kept the diskette hidden among my things. Every night for 15 years, Smile.dog came to me in my sleep and demanded that I spread the word. For 15 years I have stood strong, though there have been hard times. Many of my fellow victims on the BBS board where I first encountered Smile.jpg stopped posting. I heard some of them committed suicide. Others remained completely silent, simply disappearing off the face of the web. They are the ones I worry about the most. I sincerely hope you will forgive me, Mr. L, but last summer when you contacted me and my husband about an interview, I was near the breaking point. I decided I was going to give you the floppy diskette. I did not care if Smile.dog was lying or not. I wanted it to end. You were a stranger, someone I had no connection with, and I thought I would not feel sorrow when you took the diskette as part of your research and sealed your fate. Before you arrived, I realized what I was doing, was plotting to ruin your life. I could not stand the thought, and in fact, I still cannot. I feel ashamed, Mr. L, and I hope that this warning will dissuade you from further investigation of Smile.jpg. You may in time encounter someone who is, if not weaker than I, then wholly more depraved, someone who will not hesitate to follow Smile.dog's orders. Stop while you are still whole. Sincerely, Mary E. Terrence contacted me later that month with the news that his wife had killed herself. While cleaning up various things she left behind, closing email accounts and the like, he happened upon the above message. He was a man in shambles. He wept as he told me he listened to his wife's advice. He found the diskette, retrieved it, and burned it until it was nothing but a stinking pile of blackened plastic. The part that disturbed him the most, however, was how the diskette had hissed as it melted, like some sort of animal, he said. I admit that I was a little uncertain about how to respond to this at first. Perhaps it was a joke, with the couple belated playing with the situation in order to get a rise out of me. A quick search of the Chicago papers' online obituaries, however, provided that Mary E. was indeed dead. There was, of course, no mention of suicide in the article. I decided that for at least a while I would no longer pursue the subject of Smile.jpg, especially since I had finals coming up at the end of May. But the world has odd ways of testing us. Almost a full year after I returned from my disastrous interview with Mary E., I received another email. To JML at redacted.com from Elazar82 at redacted.com. Subject: Smile. Hello. I found your email address through a mailing list. Your profile said you are interested in Smile.dog. I have seen it, and it is not as bad as everyone says. I have sent it to you here. So, just spreading the word. And a smiley face. The final line chilled me to the bone. According to my email client, there was one file attachment called, naturally, Smile.jpg. I considered downloading it for some time. It was most likely a fake, I imagined, and even if it weren't, I was not wholly convinced of Smile.jpg's particular powers. Mary E.'s account had shaken me, yes, but she had probably mentally unbalanced anyways. After all, how could a simple image do what Smile.jpg was said to accomplish? What sort of creature was it that could break one's mind with only the power of the eye? And if such things were patently absurd, then why did the legend exist at all? If I downloaded the image, if I looked at it, And if Mary turned out to be correct, if Smile.dog came to me in my dreams demanding I spread the word, what would I do? Would I live with my life as Mary had, fighting against the urge to give in until I died? Or would I simply spread the word, eager to put it to rest? And if I chose the latter route, how could I do it? Whom would I burden in turn? If I went through with my earlier intention to write a short article about Smile.jpg, I decided I could attach it as evidence. And if anyone reads the article, anyone who took interest would be affected. And even assuming that Smile.jpg attached to the email was genuine, would I be capricious enough to save myself in that manner? Could I spread the word? Yes. Yes, I could. Can you see why I did kinda like that story? To me, it kinda has that weird, internet feel of, something from The Ring, where once you watch the video, something's going to happen, and it's going to haunt you until you pass on the image or the video on to the next person. Or even like in the movie It Follows, where a person has to sleep with somebody else to pass on whatever this creature is in the movie, and that person will then get plagued by this creature that just seems to follow them no matter where they go. And these kind of stories always kind of grab my attention and play around in my imagination, which I will admit is pretty macabre and pretty twisted, but it makes it for that much more fun. And I love having fun with you folks here in my den. And I really hope that you did enjoy this story as much as I enjoyed reading it out to you and just having a good time. And I am sorry if the image I showed to you of the Smile.dog was a bit creepy, but that's part of the fun now, isn't it? And I just hope that it doesn't plague your dreams like it says that it would in the story, and I hope it's not trying to tell you to spread the word as it does there too. But if you ever have to, go ahead and share this story with another friend of yours who likes scary stories or who likes to have a good time. Share out this video and share it with your friends and family or whomever you think might need a break from their day, as I've helped you with a break from yours. Because that's what I'm here to do, is to give you a break from all of the stupidity that's running rampant nowadays. And in other ways you can help is to always hit the like button, and if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button, so you can always be alerted whenever a new video of mine does come in. And you can also help by still going out and getting your shots if you haven't done that. Or you can still mask up while you're still moving around in stores and in public. And of course, to always social distance, because that's what's going to help us make it through to the next day, and the day after that, and hopefully within a year or so, maybe we'll have it more under control. Because remember, it did take us quite a while to get under control the Spanish flu, and so this is going to take us a bit too. So let's just help each other get through this, and help those who cannot go out and get their vaccines or shots like that because they're just not able to. Helping them is what we're supposed to do, and helping you is what I love to do. Because I love all you bipeds, quadrupeds, and even the occasional dinosaurs so much. So until next time, Wolf out.